Okay, so we're going to follow on from where we left off with our template construction. One thing that we possibly should have covered before getting this far in is just checking the units that we're using. It'd be pretty poor if we'd drawn all of this in inches when really we were talking millimeters for our size of A4 paper. So let's have a look at what's actually going on. So if we go to Format, we can check things like dimension styles, line weights, layers and things, but near the bottom you will see this thing, Unit System. And if we have a look at Unit System, the important one for me to look at, and hopefully you're not in any trouble yourselves, ideally you've got millimeters as your unit scale. But looking at this window, a point to note and a bit of a recap. We said at some point very early when we started talking about coordinate systems that angles start at 3 o'clock, as if we were looking at an analog timepiece. There's 3 o'clock, so 0 degrees is starting at 3 o'clock, and we're not working clockwise by default, and this is common throughout lots of science and engineering topics. Polar coordinates start at 3 o'clock 0 and 90 degrees counterclockwise, 180, 270, 360. That's normal. If we think about the sort of units we want in our output on our dimensions and so on, wow, length, precision, 3 decimal places by default might be a bit high. We can go down to 2 decimal places, and maybe for an angle, no decimal places might be a bit low. Maybe you should go to 1 or maybe 2 decimal places for decimal degrees. Depends how you work and where you work. You might want to output degrees, minutes and seconds. Yeah, I'd say that's fairly common even within mechanical engineering. I can't ever say I've used grads or even radians. I don't know what surveyor's unit system is, so I can't even start to discuss that. But for mechanical engineering, decimals, quite acceptable. 2 decimal places as default would be also acceptable. So millimeters, our work will be in millimeters, and that's how we should make our settings. So I'm going to click OK to that. I've just made a change. If you're making changes, remember save. I'm not going to save now, but remember save as drawing template. Before we go on, let's start to think about this paper space business. So we previously drew at 5,5 and we drew a line, the inner rectangle as it happens, 5 millimeters inboard from the A4 paper. Let's get this A4 paper business set up. And this, the scale of the paper, the fit of the paper comes from the print manager. So if we go to File, drop down menu, Print Configuration Manager, there's a default. We could manipulate the default settings to work for us, but in this case we'll set up a new Print Configuration Manager. We click New. That is going to be based on the default. That's fine. No, there's one I created for outputting PDFs in the past. Notice we've got this odd file type, and notice it's taken us to a default location. You might want to place your print settings with your template. It might be logical to do that, easy for you to remember where to find it. And I've obviously been having a play around, and I'm going to overwrite this file. So type in something down here that makes sense to you. So my template, if you recall, jh-temp, now has a print setting for that template. That's how I'm configuring. That's the way my head is working for the logic to link these two together. So I'm going to save that, and it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it, which I do. So I'm going to output to PDF. I don't actually have a printer set up on this machine, but you could select your printer, the type of printer that you want. You can set up those properties as well, whether you want to default color, grayscale is quite normal. Paper size, yeah, we were talking about A4 and we started drawing an A4 template. Portrait, landscape. I know the graphic doesn't look like landscape, but notice the image has been rotated to suit, so it is actually a landscape output. That's what we want. What do we want to print? The sheet or all geometry would do fine. Nothing is going to be any bigger than the rectangles that we've got drawn at the moment, and we can fit to the paper size, and we can print on the center of the paper. That would be fine. You can have a look at the print preview if you want to, but I can see in this preview I'm quite comfortable with what I'm seeing there, and I can click save on that. At the moment the print configuration is set to default, so with the highlighted new configuration that you've just created, activate that one, close this box, and you notice the paper actually has not quite given me what I wanted. I don't like the way that's overhanging, so let's go and have a look at that, see if we can sort it out. So File, Print Configuration Manager. Don't need to create a new one, just want to edit this one, and let's see what we can have a look at that. That doesn't make, that made a little change, nothing nothing worth writing home about. Print Configuration Manager, edit, and let's deselect fit. Okay, it was 98%. Around offset, print on center. Oh well, this is one of those things that's going to bug me a little bit. Maybe I drew something slightly out in my unit. But you can see where you can make some changes, and yeah, I think I must have drawn something slightly oversized when I was working out my sizes. I can't quite recall drawing something out of scale, but no, that's better. Okay, changing the scale to 1:1, deselecting fit to size, all geometry 1:1, print on center. It looks like everything I drew was accurate, but play around with the settings and you'll see that like all CAD systems, sometimes you just have to play around until you get what you want. So there is a basic template set out on paper. We check the units. I am just going to drag this window out, this viewport out slightly larger, just for now, and press escape to clear that. And I'm going to save my template. File, save as, DWT, find my location, select the name, save, yes, overwrite. And now, interesting, if you want to create a new part, new drawing, we're not selecting from the default location, we're going to select and use our new template, which is just as we saved the previous one. Perfect. Yep, have a go, try and get your print configuration set up, and see how you get on.